Hey there, true crime friends. How y'all doing? Look. We are in the penalty phase of the state of Florida versus Wade Wilson. Now, look, I have an entire Wade Wilson playlist if you need to get caught up on this crime. But today, we need to focus on the penalty phase. And so I was like, okay, I am not sure what to expect. I know the state of Florida is like, we need to give him the unalive penalty because he is a very, very terrible human being. And he is, yes, indeed, a very terrible human being. But his defense attorneys during the course of the trial was like, yes, he unfortunately unalived those two ladies in a very, very brutal way, but we have a very, very good excuse. Now, look, in the closing statements, they were like, yes, his brain was slightly ticklish, but that's because he was out here using narcotics and stuff. And so, oops. I mean, is that a defense against unaliving? Because he is he did not seem really that sorry. Also, he didn't really have a big defense, aside from saying he was using Flocka. Only, I was like, what is Flocka? Y'all did not bring up Flocka during the course of the trial. You only mentioned Flocka during the closing statements. Apparently, Flocka is a very, very bad narcotic that makes your brain go real crazy. They call it bath salts. Honey, when I want bath salts, I just go down to the CVS and I give me some of that Calgon, take me away. But this is a whole other kind of bath salts. So I was like, well, so let me see what they're going to teach us all about bath salts in this penalty phase. Turns out they never mentioned it. And I was like, y'all got me over here taking baths and thinking about Calgon and stuff and lighting candles around the tub, but okay, let me focus. So at the penalty phase, day one, they were like, okay, first we're going to have a couple of victim impact statements. And I was like, okay, usually these make me cry. And I generally try to avoid them, but I wanted to hear all what was going on. And so the first lady, Christine, now this is what you need to understand. The first woman that he unalived in this case was a lady he just met at the club. He met her. They knew each other for like 2 hours or 20 minutes or something like that. And then they got together and started oochie in each other's coochie. Okay. But Christine, aside from just like picking up a dude and bringing him home from the club and doing it over and over and over and over again, it is well documented how much they got to know each other in the very, very biblical sense. And I was like, ooh, child, now I am no prude, but you making me blush. Okay, you are doing absolutely the most. Okay, girl. So her cousin got up there and it's like, her mother has been devastated by this, which I completely understand. It's a really terrible situation to have happen. And she was like, I'm now going to give a very touchy, beautiful tribute to my cousin who was like a sister to me, Christine. I can't believe this has happened. So she told all the wonderful things about Christine. And I was like, oh my gosh, she does indeed sound very wonderful. And then the district attorney did something. And I'm like, I'm not sure if this was a hit or a miss. They were like, so you brought some pictures. Can you show us these pictures? And I was like, okay, cool. Wow, we're going to see some pictures. Like, okay, this is her with her mom who loves her very much. Okay, cool. This is her with her cat. And I'm like, why are we looking at this unalive lady's cat? I mean, she was an animal lover. That's good. And so the lady on the stand leaned in to say, this is her cat, Fluffy. I don't remember the cat's real name. I'm just, also for the cat's anonymity, I'm not going to use his real name, mostly because I don't remember. This is her cat, Fluffy, that they found sitting right beside her. And her cat loved her so much, he did not even eat her eyeballs. You know a cat will take every opportunity to consume you. Now, listen, I am a cat person. I'm super, super allergic, so I can't have them in my house, nothing like that. But, I love me a little kitty. Oh, they're so cute. I love myself a little kitty. But I do not kid myself about cats. Now, a dog will sit there next to your unalived corpse for a long time and just remain loyal. A cat will sit next to your unalived corpse till he gets hungry. And then he's going to be like, I love her, but she looks delicious. Also, she was rolled up in a rug, so maybe the cat has some difficulty. But they were like, they was painting a false picture of this cat. But I was going to leave it alone because we talking about the dearly departed. And then there was one little picture that they threw in that I was like, that might have been ill-advised. They were like, she loved Halloween. This is her dressed up with some of her friends as the Golden Girls. And all I could think was she Blanche? Because she seemed like the Blanche of the crew. Any crew, she seemed like the Blanche. No shade to Miss Blanche Devereaux, because Miss Blanche Devereaux, honey, she was my spirit animal. But she was an old lady and she really enjoyed having people, all up in her kibbles and bits. And so I looked at the pictures and I was like, between the cat picture and the possibly Blanche picture, this might have been ill-advised. But okay, we got a very good sense of Christine and who she was as a human. Now listen, the second victim in this crime is Miss Mila from Mila Spa. And when Mila was on the stand, because she is still on this side of glory, honey, Miss Mila, who was beat up by this unaliver, said Mila Spa over and over. Oh, she told you could find her on Google. I think she might have even given a coupon code. Use red rum for 10% off your next treatment. I was like, okay, Miss Mila, calm down. Miss Mila apparently is a marketing genius because she just kept saying Mila Spa, Mila Spa, Mila Spa. And now I can't get Mila Spa out of my head. Next time I'm down there in Cape Coral or whatever, I'm going to go get myself a manicure and a pedicure. Although quiet as it's kept, child. Let's move to the rumor section of the program real quick. Some people were saying that Miss Mila down there to the Mila Spa, she might have been involved in some human trafficking, and that you might have a real happy ending if you go to her spa. Now listen, this is not what I'm saying. This is what they saying out here in these true crime streets, and you ain't heard none of that from me, but that's what I heard. And then most heartbreaking of all, Miss Diane Ruiz, who was also unfortunately unalived by the terrible Wade Wilson, he said he was 14 when his mama passed. Now look, his mama was just trying to give somebody directions, and she was kidnapped and unalived in a very brutal way. It was terrible. And he got up there, and I was just like, oh my God, my heart is broken wide open. Now listen, you got to keep in mind, I was driving back from college orientation as I was listening to this child, and I was like, I can't drive and cry. Oh, this is terrible. And so then the young man got off, but he did say, here are all the things in the 7 years since my mom passed. Here's all the things I did. And he was like, I got my diploma, and I went to my high school diploma, and I got to college, and I did all these things. So he's moved on with his life. I bet you his mama is his angel now. Oh, so sad. But then they put up the doctors. Now, you know, I want to know all about the doctors. I want to hear what all the psychiatrists have to say. The psychiatrist, the psychologist, the medical doctor, everything. But first, they gave a little bit of Mr. Wade Wilson's history. And I was like, yes, tell me every single thing. Now, during the trial, we found out that he was born to a teenager. And I was like, okay, that happens. I used to have MTV back when it was music, child. I'm old. But, then when they started doing that 16 and pregnant or whatever, and what's the other one? Unexpected. Well, I was leaning in because I love them little trashy TV shows. So apparently Wade Wilson's mama was not 16 and pregnant. She was 13 and pregnant. Yikes. That's young. In addition to being 13 and pregnant, is 13 even the age of consent in any state? Was she okay, look, I don't know what happened, but Wade Wilson's biological father took the stand during the course of the trial, and he said, I was 14 when I found out that my girlfriend was going to have a baby. I was 15 by the time the baby was born. So this couple kind of like very Romeo and Juliet, young, fooling around, having fun or whatever. And then Wade Wilson's mama got pregnant. But somebody down at the church was like, you know what? This little 13-year-old girl who's pregnant, we're going to adopt her baby and give him a very nice life. And so this is all going to live happily ever after. The Wilsons, a very nice family. They had 2 daughters. And when a little girl at the church gets pregnant, they were like, of course we will adopt her baby and give that baby a wonderful home. This is going to be great. And they did. They adopted him and gave him a very loving home. He was raised in a loving, warm, close family. Here's a little hiccup here. Oh, you know, I done talked my throat dry. Here's a little thing that you need to understand. Wade Wilson's biological mama, yes, she was 13. Yes, she was pregnant. There are 2 other little factors that had not come up until they started reviewing medical history and family history. Wade Wilson's mama, she also had a ticklish brain. Okay, so a mentally ill 13-year-old. Okay, that's real sad. And now she's pregnant. You can kind of see where that might go hand in hand. Although they don't outline what mental illness she would have. No, Wade is only 31. The lady was 13 or 14 when he was born. So she's really not that old. She's like in her 40s and 50s now. Okay, man, where you at now? Wait, are you still on this side of the mortal coil? Anyway, his mama was 13, mentally ill, and she used narcotics while she was pregnant. Really? Where is it? Listen, I understand that 13-year-olds can be quite crafty, but was he born with stuff in his system? This boy, now, yes, they put him in a nice, really wonderful, loving home, but like, yikes, that is a scary set of circumstances, but they raised him and they loved him and he was really sweet and wonderful. And then he turned 13 and I was like, uh-oh, boom, boom, boom. I was like, what exactly happened when he turned 13? Well, honey, it turns out everything happened when he turned 13. First of all, his parents reported that he started getting real paranoid and acting really weird. And then overnight, it was like a Jekyll and Hyde situation. He went from being like a cute boy who was playing baseball and on the football team or whatever to being paranoid, acting strange, acting out in school and all this other stuff. Then we come to find out when Wade turned 13, he also started using drugs. Oh, okay. So might it be that he had some of the ticklish brain from his mama, and then he piled drugs on top of that, and that did not help. After that time, it's always been a roller coaster with him. Wade, now, yes, he did graduate from high school, and he is of average intelligence and all of those other things. But them brains, you remember the Taylor Schabusiness case, child? I have a whole playlist about the state of Wisconsin versus Taylor Schabusiness. Miss Schabusiness started using narcotics when she was young. Turns out, Mr. Wade Wilson, he from that Schabusiness school of thought. In that, he has some anxiety, he has some depression. Okay, he's 13. Most 13-year-olds are like anxious and sad and, oh, my life is so terrible or whatever. Look, Ma told me he had a terrible childhood because I did not let him play enough video games. Okay. Good for you. Take that up with Jesus or your therapist. They ain't got nothing to do with me because now you grown. So anyway, when this boy started being upset and having a bad time, although he has come from a very loving family, he solved his problem with narcotics. Now his mom and daddy and them was like, we are from down at the church. What we not going to do is that. Now, his sisters grew up. They are productive members of society. One sister is a doctor, and I was like, oh, fancy. But Wade, he just went all the way to the left. He's now 31 years old. He has never gone to college. Okay, that's no big deal. Never held down a job. Really? I mean, aside from narcotic sales and distribution, he's good at that sales and distribution life. He's been in and out of jail for a long time. His mom and daddy and them was like, we think he might have had some head trauma. And I was like, is there any proof or evidence? They were like, well, he played football when he was young, so maybe that was it. And I was like, but you don't have anything other than that? And they were like, yeah. He has some MRIs too. And so we think because he bumped his head, he had a couple car accidents and bad things would happen to him. And he never seemed to learn his lesson. Child, I got a child like that. Now, he has grown into a perfectly normal human being, and he's not out here unaliving people. But, yeah, he could only learn from making all of the mistakes. And so sometimes you have a child like that. And they were like, he was in a car accident where he didn't have a seatbelt on, and he bumped his head. And I was like, oh, okay. Then a couple of years later, he was in another car accident where he didn't have a seatbelt on, and he bumped his head. And I was like, maybe he was just high, or maybe he's just stupid, child. Stupid is not a mental illness. Can you say stupid here on the tubes of you, child? I am not even sure. But anyway, this way, he was not that bright. And he did not seem to learn from repeated mistakes. On top of that, the whole variety of narcotics that he was using, well, he just helped himself to a whole narcotic buffet. And I was like, oh, he was out here trying everything. And then they named all the drugs that he tried. And I was like, I don't even know that I've heard of any of these. Yes, it included like crystal and heroin and Coca-Cola. You know what I mean? I ain't trying to get canceled or defunded or whatever they do to you. But he was trying everything. He was using everything that the nice street corner pharmaceutical had to offer. Oh, that pharmacist down there on the 1st and Main? Wade was a good customer. Wade was such a good customer that he went into the business. Okay, and so finally, they were like the most comprehensive jail records they have, the most comprehensive medical records they have are from jail. And so we got in the trial to the point it was like dueling psychologists. One psychologist says he's very, very mentally ill, and I have like a degree from Harvard, and I went to Princeton, and I built brains in my spare time, like super, super smarty smart, right? This dude was like, has anxiety, depression, bipolar, antisocial disorder, and schizoaffective disorder. I was like, ooh, that sounds bad. Ooh, that sounds real bad. But then another very well-respected, like medical brain type person was like, he was anxious and depressed because he was in jail. If you were in jail, you would be anxious and depressed too. And they were like, right. One of the doctors who said that he had schizophrenia, then later was like, on direct examination, he was like, with his full chest, Mr. Wilson has schizophrenia. He was diagnosed with schizophrenia. On cross-examination, they were like, right. he self-reported that, right? Like, you just ask him, what have you been diagnosed with in the past? And he said, yes, I have schizophrenia. And then the doctor was like, well, yeah. I mean, he told us he had schizophrenia, and he asked us to put him on schizophrenic drugs. And I was like, oh, okay. So everybody can agree that Mr. Wilson was anxious and depressed while in jail, which that tracks. Makes perfect sense. But all the other, is he schizoaffective? Is he full schizophrenia? I'm not even sure what the differences are. Is schizoaffective disorder like schizophrenia light? I don't even know how all of that works. And they were like, was he hearing auditory hallucinations? And people were like, yes, he was. No, he wasn't. Yes, he was. And then they were like, was he having visual hallucinations? Yes, he was. No, he wasn't. And I was like, y'all are making me dizzy. And then they were just like, might all of those auditory and visual hallucinations been drug induced? And everybody was like, across the board. Yeah. Absolutely. He was using a lot of narcotics, and that has messed up his already slightly ticklish brain. And I was like, oh, okay. So he had a little something wrong, and then he started using drugs young, and it has affected his brain, and he has gone all the way off the reservation. Which, can you say off the reservation? I don't even know. Ooh, child, I'm trying hard not to get canceled. So I was just like, okay. I feel like I have a full picture. The psychologists duel back and forth. He's sick. No, he's not. Yes, he is. No, he isn't. Oh my goodness, y'all are making my head spin. But okay, we just gonna go with it. He's sick. We don't know why. It's unclear if the state of Florida feels like he's sick enough on his own to get the unalive penalty, or if he's just like sick and you should put him in prison for the rest of his life. Here's one thing though. One of the doctors was saying, he was in the jail and he started hearing voices and acting very bizarre, and everybody was very concerned. And so they took him to the hospital thinking clearly he's having like some sort of mental break. And it turned out he was on fentanyl. Oh, so even when he was behind bars, he was still using all of the, okay, I mean, points for craftiness? I guess if he would use that ingenuity and funnel it into something that didn't ruin his life and others, he might have turned out okay. But it turned out those are not the choices that 31-year-old Mr. Wade Wilson is making. Wow. Also, where's his mom and daddy in that? His mom and daddy, the people who raised him, the Wilsons, them nice people who had that one daughter who's a doctor, and I bet you they still go to church. I bet they praying real hard right now, because if this is my child, I'm not even a religious person. I might drop to a knee and be like, Tina Turner, Jesus, actual God, somebody need to help this boy, because he's in a bad way. No matter what happens, he's going to be locked up away from me and you and the rest of the general public for the rest of his life. The real question is, how long that life going to be? Child, it is unclear. You know, Florida, they believe in just like, shuffling you off this mortal coil. They be like, well, you did some very bad things. We're going to give you a couple years of appeals, and then we're going to push you off this tall mountain. I don't know how they do it down in Florida. Are they still injecting people? Do they stone you with rocks or whatever? They got the shooting gallery. What do you call it? The firing squad. I don't know how they're going to do it. But Wade Wilson, boo-boo, you're not going home. Your mom and daddy, them, they're not going to write you letters. Your sister, who's a doctor, she going to forget they knew you. The other sister, they don't mention anything about her. How come that other sister's being left out of this? I want to know all her personal business, but she is entitled to her privacy. I hope she has gotten married and changed her name and act like she don't know him at all. Because, child, if this was my sibling, I would be like, who? It was always just me and my other sister. Oh, we had a cousin, little cousin Oliver, lived with us for a little while. He don't live with us no more. I don't know what happened to him. Child, I would disown him in a heartbeat. Now listen, if you have watched this far in the video, I need to tell you my little secret. One little secret, a personal secret. I have started a super secret second channel. I'm building it over there in the back room. Me and the members, we've been over there. We've been talking. I've been adding videos. My second channel is called Confessions of a Neighborhood Gossip. Yeah. Where I take all the little not true crime gossip that I want to talk about, things that is happening on the block and things that I see out in the world. So if you want to get a little sneak peek, it's only like a couple videos up there, but go on and take a little peek over at Confessions of a Neighborhood Gossip. Is that what I called it? I think that's what I called it. Child, was so new, I don't even remember. I'm going to put a link in the description of this video, but I'm not doing like a big full announcement yet because I want to fill up the channel first. But if you want a little bit more of this ridiculousness, well, you can become a member, because members charge like 300 videos of me just running my mouth over there on the member tab for the low, low price of like $4 a month. I don't know how much it costs. I really wasn't paying that close attention. But Confessions of a Neighborhood Gossip, well, that's up. And it's out here in these true crime streets, but you ain't heard that from me. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.